Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Books in Bytes. Today, we're diving deep into the Dark Forest. That's the second book in Cixin Liu's mind-blowing remembrance of Earth's past trilogy. You sent this one in, so we know you're ready for some serious sci-fi pondering.
Yeah, you know what's fascinating about the Dark Forest is it goes beyond a simple alien invasion story. It really grapples with these profound questions about communication technology and the very nature of civilizations in this vast and potentially hostile universe.
Okay, so let's give our listeners a quick overview. Humanity is facing annihilation. From the Trisolarans, a technologically superior alien civilization that's on a collision course with Earth. But the Dark Forest, it isn't just about spaceships and lasers. It's about the choices we make when survival is at stake, the ethical dilemmas we face when confronted with the unknown, and the terrifying consequences of just revealing ourselves. In a universe where everyone seems to be high.
Right. One of the central themes that runs through this whole book is this idea of cosmic sociology, specifically the Dark Forest theory. This theory is introduced early on by the character Yuanji, and she suggests that the universe is a dark forest, full of hidden civilizations, each one's terrified of making a sound. Why? Because any sign of life could attract a predator.
So that's kind of like a cosmic game of hide and seek,
Mhm.
where the stakes are literally life or death.
Exactly. It's a chilling concept that forces us to rethink our assumptions about first contact and the potential dangers of broadcasting our existence to the cosmos. Think about it. If we discovered a less advanced civilization, wouldn't there be a temptation to exploit or even eliminate them before they could pose a threat?
That's a disturbing thought, but I can see the logic. It's almost like a cosmic version of the prisoner's dilemma, where fear and distrust lead to a stalemate of silence.
Precisely. And this fear is what drives a lot of the decisions humanity makes in the book. Like, take the Wallfacer Project, for example. It's a desperate attempt to find a way to defend Earth from the Trisolarans. But the methods they use are ethically questionable at best. 4 individuals are chosen as wallfacers. They're given vast resources and unchecked power to develop secret plans, without any oversight or accountability.
So it's basically a gamble on the brilliance and the sanity of these individuals, hoping they can come up with some miracle solution to save humanity.
In a way, yes. But the project is riddled with flaws from the start. The criticisms raised during the Wallfacer hearing centuries later really highlight the disastrous consequences of this approach.
And we see those consequences firsthand with wall facers like Tyler and Ray Diaz.
Yeah.
One wants to create a kamikaze fleet of space fighters. The other plans to detonate Mercury. It seems like the project was almost designed to implode under the weight of its own secrecy and unchecked power.
Yes, and the book doesn't shy away from exploring the ethical implications of these decisions. Liu is asking us to consider, what price are we willing to pay for survival? Can we trust individuals with absolute power when the fate of humanity is at stake?
Those are some heavy questions, and it seems like Liu doesn't offer any easy answers.
Right. And as if the internal conflict wasn't enough, there's this whole movement called escapism that emerges. Essentially, it's a group advocating for building spaceships to flee the solar system before the Trisolarans arrive.
So while some are trying to fight, others are looking for the cosmic exit door.
Exactly. Escapism highlights another layer of ethical complexity. Who gets to escape? What about those left behind? It becomes this divisive issue, fueling political debates and further fracturing an already fragile society.
It's a stark reminder that even when faced with an external threat like this, our internal conflicts and divisions can be just as dangerous.
Absolutely. And then there's the reveal of the wallbreakers, individuals working from within to undermine humanity and aid Trisolaris. It adds a chilling layer of paranoia and suspicion, making it almost impossible to know who to trust.
So not only are we facing an alien invasion, but we're also battling betrayal and sabotage from within our own ranks.
Yes, and it makes the fight for survival even more complicated. It's a classic trope in science fiction, but Liu uses it to explore the psychology of fear and how easily it can be manipulated. Think about the mental seal technology, developed by Wallfacer Hines and his wife Keiko Yamasuki.
Oh, right. The technology that can implant specific beliefs in a person's mind.
Exactly. It's a powerful tool with both terrifying and fascinating implications. In the book, it's used to instill a belief in defeatism in key members of the Space Force, undermining humanity's efforts from within.
Wow. It's like Lou is saying that our own minds can be the most dangerous battleground.
Precisely. And this theme of internal conflict, of the human capacity for both hope and despair, is woven throughout the story, making it far more than just a simple alien invasion narrative.
It definitely adds a level of psychological complexity that I find really intriguing. It's making me think about how we might react as a species if we ever did face a threat like this.
And that's what makes the Dark Forest so compelling. It forces us to confront our own fears and vulnerabilities, and to grapple with the ethical dilemmas that might arise in such a scenario.
It's definitely not a light read,
Hmm.
but it's incredibly thought-provoking.
Absolutely. And speaking of thought-provoking, there's this one passage where Yuwenji describes the stars as the universe gaining sight. It's such a powerful image, and it really captures the essence of the Dark Forest theory.
You know, that image has stuck with me ever since I first read the book. It's both beautiful and terrifying.
Mm.
And it makes you realize how vulnerable we might be in a universe that's just beginning to become aware of itself.
It's a haunting thought, and it sets the stage for the even more mind-bending events that unfold as the story progresses.
Well, let's jump into those events then. We've got a lot more to unpack with this one.
Indeed. Let's explore the devastating consequences of humanity's first encounter with a Trisolaran weapon, the droplet. So the arrival of the first Trisolaran probe, it's a seemingly harmless droplet of liquid metal. It marks a real turning point in the story, and it throws humanity into chaos.
Yeah, it's a moment of intense suspense.
Yeah.
You know something terrible is about to happen, but you just don't know what form it'll take. And the way Liu describes it, the droplet's beauty and strange movement, it just adds to the sense of unease.
Yeah, that contrast between beauty and destructive power. It's a recurring motif, I think, in the book. It speaks to the idea that appearances can be deceiving, especially when we're dealing with the unknown.
Yeah, and the droplet's attack on the combined human fleet is absolutely devastating. It's not just a battle, it's a complete annihilation. It highlights the terrifying technological gap between us and the Trisolarans.
Yeah, the asymmetry of that battle is shocking. It throws humanity into this deep existential crisis, what the book refers to as Problem N. So for the first time, humans have to confront the reality that they are not alone in the universe, and that they might not be the dominant species.
It's a humbling realization, and it leads to some pretty drastic measures, like the widespread use of the mental seal, trying to control people's beliefs and quell the panic.
Where mental seal, while initially intended to instill a belief in victory, ultimately becomes this symbol of control and manipulation. It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of technology, especially when it's used to suppress dissent or enforce conformity.
And Keiko Yamasuke's betrayal, using the mental seal to implant defeatism in key military personnel. It really drives home the point that even our own minds can be weaponized against us.
It's a chilling thought, and it raises questions about the limits of free will and the ethics of manipulating beliefs.
So we've got this external threat from the Trisolarans, and this internal struggle with fear, betrayal, and technological manipulation. Where does humanity even go from there?
Well, this is where the story shifts to a new phase, a period known as the Great Ravine. It's a time of immense hardship and societal upheaval, as humanity tries to adapt to the looming Trisolaran threat and the limitations imposed by the technological lockdown.
The Great Ravine is such a vivid depiction of a civilization on the brink. The bunker cities, the resource scarcity, the breakdown of social norms. It paints a very bleak picture of what humanity's future might hold.
But even amidst this despair, there's a sense of resilience, of human ingenuity finding ways to survive and adapt. The book doesn't shy away from the darkness, but it also offers these glimmers of hope, moments of human connection and creativity that shine through the bleakness.
I particularly like how Liu portrays the changes in technology during the Great Ravine. It's not about progress in the traditional sense, but rather adaptation and resourcefulness. The bicycle that surprises Luigi, for example, is actually a personal flying device. It shows that human innovation can continue, even under the most restrictive circumstances.
Exactly. And this spirit of innovation is what ultimately leads to the development of more advanced spacecraft, allowing humanity to venture further into the solar system and eventually confront the Trisolaran fleet directly.
Speaking of confrontation, the droplet attack on the second combined fleet is just as terrifying as the first. It's another reminder of the Trisolarans' technological superiority and the sheer scale of the challenge facing humanity.
The droplet attack is like a masterclass in strategic thinking and technological warfare. Liu describes the battle in such detail that you can almost feel the tension and despair as the human fleet is just systematically decimated.
It's a brutal lesson in the realities of interstellar conflict. And it leaves humanity reeling both physically and psychologically.
But even in the face of such overwhelming odds, there are individuals who refuse to give up hope. Zhang Beihai, the sword holder we mentioned earlier, hijacks the spaceship Natural Selection in this desperate attempt to preserve a portion of humanity's future.
His actions are both heroic and tragic. It's a gamble, a leap of faith into the unknown, driven by a deep-seated belief in humanity's potential for survival.
Yeah, his choice highlights the complexities of human motivation and the lengths to which we might go to ensure the survival of our species.
And it sets the stage for the final confrontation between Luigi the Swordholder and the Trisolarans. A confrontation that hinges on a chilling realization about the true nature of the Dark Forest.
As the Trisolaran fleet gets closer and closer to Earth, another probe arrives, and this one carries a message that changes everything. It's from the survivors of that civilization, whose star Luigi broadcasted into space, and it confirms that terrifying reality of the Dark Forest theory.
It's chilling because it proves that Luigi's spell, it wasn't just some abstract thought experiment. It had real devastating consequences. He unintentionally destroyed a civilization and brought the wrath of the cosmos down on humanity.
This forces Luigi to confront the weight of his actions and the terrifying implications of the Dark Forest. He realizes that the universe, it isn't a playground for these grand gestures, but a battlefield where silence and deception are the only ways to survive.
And this realization leads him to develop a new plan, right? A plan based on the same principle of deterrence. That saved Earth from the first Trisolaran attack. He becomes the Swordholder, the one entrusted with the power to activate a signal. That would expose the location of both Earth and Trisolarans to the rest of the galaxy.
It's brilliant but terrifying. Luigi is essentially holding a gun to the head of both civilizations, threatening mutually assured destruction if the Trisolarans don't back down. He's turned the logic of the Dark Forest against itself, using the threat of exposure as a shield.
It's a high-stakes gamble, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat, wondering if you'll actually go through with it. The tension is palpable as Luigi engages in this cosmic game of chicken with the Trisolaran fleet.
And in the end, his gamble pays off. The Trisolarans, unwilling to risk their own annihilation, agree to a ceasefire and they lift the technological lockdown. Humanity is granted a reprieve, a chance to rebuild and prepare for an uncertain future.
But it's a bittersweet victory, a fragile peace, built on the constant threat of annihilation.
Yeah.
Humanity survives, but its fate is still intertwined with the Trisolarans, and the Dark Forest looms large over everything.
Yeah, the book ends with this haunting image of Luigi, now an old man, living this quiet life with his family, but forever burdened by the knowledge that he holds the fate of humanity in his hands. He's become a symbol of both our hope and our vulnerability in a universe that seems indifferent to our existence.
It's a powerful ending. That leaves you with a lot to think about. What does it mean to survive in a universe governed by the rules of the Dark Forest? Can we ever truly escape the threat of annihilation?
The Dark Forest. It's a story about survival, about the choices we make when faced with the unknown, and the consequences of those choices. It challenges our assumptions about first contact and forces us to confront the darker aspects of our own nature. It's a book that stays with you long after you finish reading it, prompting you to question everything you thought you knew about our place in the universe.
Yeah, it's definitely not a light read, but it's one that I highly recommend. If you're looking for a book that will challenge your thinking and leave you with a sense of wonder and a healthy dose of cosmic dread, then The Dark Forest is for you.
And for our listener who sent in this deep dive request, we hope you've gained some new insights into this complex and thought-provoking novel.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep looking up at the stars. But maybe do it quietly, just in case.